Okay. Hey y'all, how you doing? It's your boy Kyle here. I got the MMA cap, so you know what that means. This is a rant video. In the rant video that I'm ranting about is people are starting to join, which is very funny. Mark Henry's bandwagon. This is just too hilarious here. Boy, where do I start? There's some people on the YWC and even the internet wrestling community that I've seen are now starting to join. And even people who aren't a part of those communities or whatever are starting to jump on Mark Henry's bandwagon. Now, this rant video, it has nothing to do with any of my subscribers. You guys are fine. You guys are cool. That's fine. But I'm talking about people who are not my subscribers at all. People that I know on YouTube and the YWC, but they don't know me. But I know them, and I know some stuff that they've said about Mark Henry since he had this big Monster Hill push before he even got into the world title picture with Randy Orton at Sunday's pay-per-view. How they had to discuss with him then, and now since he's the world champion, those same people are giving Mark Henry praise. This is very funny. Now, like I said, these people that I know, they're not my subscribers. There aren't any of my friends on here on YouTube, but there are people but there are people that I know, but they don't know me. So you have three different categories of people here when it comes to Mark Henry. You got the IWC, the Internet Wrestling Community, and their thoughts of Mark Henry. They still don't like Mark Henry as world champion, but that's the IWC. They bitch and complain about everything, so they're never satisfied. So anyway, so you have them. Then you have some people who don't like Mark Henry, who didn't like the fact Mark Henry's going to be in the world title picture, and since becoming world champ, they still don't like Mark Henry as being the world champion, and that's fine. That's okay. I'm fine with those people who fit in that category. Then you have the people. Then the third category of people are the ones who, like I said, who I've seen trash and talk about Mark Henry, but now are starting to get behind him now that he's the world champion. And those type of people who are in that third category that I just mentioned are the freaking bandwagon fans. You guys are really making me sick with this. Because first you jumped on the bandwagon of CM Punk, and now, and you've given, and because you jumped on the bandwagon of CM Punk, because you're freaking bandwagon fans, you've ruined and pretty much kind of, how should I say, tarnished us real CM Punk fans, where everybody thinks where all CM Punk fans are lame. But that's not the case. And now you're jumping onto the bandwagon of Mark Henry, now that he's the world champion. I'm not going to name any names because I'm not going to go in some internet war with a whole bunch of these losers who do this type of stuff because it's a waste of my time, and I have a life. But I just find it a little agitating at times of how you guys just jump from one superstar to the next. And you know exactly who you are if you're watching this video, any bandwagon fans that's watching this video, because you know exactly. I've seen your videos where you talked about Mark Henry since, like I said, before he even got into the world title picture, when he was doing his thing with Big Show and Kane. You talked about him then, and now you're supporting him as a world champion. You guys make me sick. I don't understand, these bandwagon fans. Now, me personally, how I made a video, I made a video like last week. So any of my subscribers, if you guys are watching this, watch the video that I made of talking about my thoughts on Mark Henry's huge push. And in that video, I explained of how I don't think that the push that Mark Henry is getting is bad. Now, I'm not a big, huge Mark Henry. Now, I'm not a bandwagon fan myself. I'm not. But I give credit where credit's due, and I'm honest when it comes to wrestling. And me in particular, unlike the IWC, I try not to find every little thing that, any wrestling company, whether on the independent circuit or a televised wrestling program, I try to find not a lot of stuff not to complain about. And unlike the IWC. However, my thoughts on Mark Henry is this here. I like Mark Henry. I've never been a big fan of Mark Henry. Still not a big fan of Mark Henry. I like Mark Henry though. I think he's a good heel. He's believable. If I was to put Mark Henry, in my opinion, I prefer Mark Henry being a world champion over the great Khali. Hey, Khali, when Khali was the world champion. I prefer Mark Henry being the world champion over the Big Show, and I even prefer Mark Henry being the world champion over Kane when Kane was the world champion last year. I didn't like the fact that Kane was the world heavyweight champion last year. Because, in my opinion, I just think Mark Henry is a much better, he fits that monster persona better than Big Show, Kane, and the great Khali put together. Now, me saying this does not mean that I'm a big, huge fan of Mark Henry. I am excited that Mark Henry won the world heavyweight title. Why? Because it's somebody different. Am I a big, huge Randy Orton fan? Yes. Was I excited that Randy Orton lost? Yes. Why? Because once again, like I said, it's somebody different who have won the world championship. I'm not a Cody Rhodes fan, but if Cody Rhodes beat Randy Orton for the world title and Night of Champions, I'd be excited about that. Why? Because it's someone fresh and someone different, whether it's a new kid on the block like, Ted DiBiase and Cody Rhodes, although they've been here for a while, but compared to some of the other wrestlers, they're still considered new kids on the block. Or whether it be a 41-year-old veteran like Mark Henry, who's never won a world title. I'm happy for that. Am I jumping on the bandwagon for Mark Henry? No. But as a wrestling fan who wants to see something different, even though I'm the biggest Randy Orton fan, I love Randy Orton, but the fact that I'm a wrestling fan and I want to see some change and something different besides Randy Orton, Cena, Randy Orton, Cena, Randy Orton, Cena being in the main event spot or being the top guy, I was glad that Orton lost because it was somebody different being the world champion, and also because of Mark Henry's his heel persona, just this unstoppable juggernaut. Now that he's the world champion, now that he's the world champion, and he has this characteristic of being just this unstoppable juggernaut, I think it also makes interesting storytelling, at least for the SmackDown show. I think it makes for some interesting storytelling for his character as the world champion. So that's why I'm excited about Mark Henry. But I'm not going to go on here on making videos saying, oh, Mark Henry is the greatest wrestler of all time and how I've supported Mark Henry, through thick and thin. No, I'm not going to get up here and lie to you guys and say that. No, I'm going to be honest. No, I'm not the biggest, hugest Mark Henry fan. Like I said, I like Mark Henry. See, there's a difference in liking someone and then being a fan of somebody. See, me being a fan of CM Punk, I've supported CM Punk through his bad times and saying WWE all the way up until now. And I've even supported Punk way before he even came to WWE. Mark Henry, I've always liked, but I've never liked his gimmicks that he was in. His gimmicks weren't really that great, and yet he's had monster pushes like this one. But in my Mark Henry video, I also explained of how this push is much different than his last monster huge pushes, because this push actually got him somewhere, and that was to the world champion, and that was for the world title, and he succeeded in getting that. But you bandwagon fans are like, literally, you guys are just like, oh, Mark Henry deserves it. He worked his butt off. Mark Henry's is going to be a great world champion. I'm so happy Mark Henry won. I'm so proud of Mark Henry. If you go on any YouTube video, I challenge any of my subscribers, go to anyone's YouTube page video in the IWC, YWC, whatever, and you will see how many people are excited about this. And people have done reviews and stuff on the night of the pay-per-view the one thing that everybody highlights on all of the reviews on the Night of Champions pay-per-view was Mark Henry winning the world title. Come on now. And some of these guys I've seen who've done reviews, excuse me, on the Night of Champions pay-per-view, who consider Mark Henry to be like the biggest highlight, I promise to God, are the same people I've seen who have criticized and hated Mark Henry when he got this huge push before he even got into the world title picture. But since he started to come out with this big, huge monster heel push. Bandwagon fans, that's all I can say about that. Bandwagon fans suck monkey balls. You guys really suck monkey balls. And and someone else who sucks monkey balls, like I said, bandwagon fans annoy me, but the one particular group of people that piss me off are the internet wrestling community. Because you guys sit behind your computers and try to find everything to bitch and moan and complain about in any wrestling organization. You find something to bitch and complain about in WWE, something in TNA, which I think this is probably the only time where I can agree with you guys on that when it comes to TNA, because they got so much crap going on. But still, you find something to bitch and complain about that. And when ROH comes to national broadcast television next Saturday, you guys are going to find something to bitch and complain about that company too. You guys are never satisfied with anything. I mean, good God. I mean, you always complain. You need to push this guy. You need to push that guy. And WWE's not doing this. WWE's not doing that. What the hell? You may not like Mark Henry, but just be glad there's someone different for a change. You freaking internet wrestling community guys really suck. I mean, just be glad that there's somebody different. Like I said, I'm not the biggest Mark Henry fan in the world, but I'm glad he's won because it's a different face, and because of his persona, I think it'll make for some interesting storytelling on the SmackDown show. But you guys get your head so far up your ass you can't see the light of day that that doesn't even come to your mind whatsoever. So anyway, like I said, this video, on this rant video, I'm talking about bandwagon fans jumping on Mark Henry, has nothing to do with any of you guys, any of my subscribers or friends on my YouTube channel. These are people who are not connected to me in any way on YouTube, but these are other people that I'm ranting about who I know and starting to jump on the bandwagon of Mark Henry. Anyway, let me know what you guys think. Please comment, subscribe, give me a like on the video, and stay tuned because I'll be talking about my thoughts of CM Punk, things I've kind of picked up since he lost to Triple H at the pay-per-view this Sunday. Peace out, guys.